People follow people. That's a great quote that Mark from Riverside shared in our recent podcast. I'd highly recommend watching that video, some great information from him. But some of the things we talked about was building trust, building your personal brand, not being the hero, just a lot of great advice about how to grow your personal brand and how much more important that is than it used to be on social media. So for this week's video, I figured I would just pull some clips from that podcast to share with you because it was some great information. Enjoy.
Branding is the general public's perception of you and based on how you make them feel. So it's not a black outfit, it's not a logo,
it's not your brand guide.
Yeah, but it is all those things.
Right. Because they all support it.
Yeah, thinking about, okay, if people follow people, what is it that makes someone wants to be someone's friend, or what is it that someone wants to be involved in someone's life, in real life, right?
Yeah.
And then take those things into that social media and say, okay, so people like to hang out with people that they trust is a huge part. It's like once you lose, whether it's a friend or a relationship or a significant other, once trust is lost, then the thing just will deteriorate no matter how strong the foundation is. So kind of looking at that, like, okay, so people want to be friends with people that they trust, people they like, people they can relate to, people that maybe they have something in common. So I think some of it was intentional, some of it was just natural, but I think the things specifically that have happened, one is that I've always just tried to be myself. Like I was wearing black before I did it. I didn't just say, I'm gonna start wearing black because I'm gonna be a content creator.
Right.
So being genuine is probably top of the list. So going into it, I knew, but just part of my personality, like people that have always known me, is like, yeah, Mark's Mark. He's just always the same. He talks the same, his fluctuation, like
nice. He's
just him. So that was the one thing. Like, I know I need to be myself, which was easy because it's hard for me to be different. It's hard for me to not, I feel like I'm a fish out of water if I'm trying to be someone different.
Right.
I think the other one being trust was, I knew that the goal and the vision of the page had to be for Riverside and for the city, and not so much for me or not even for the people at first.
I think it's important to kind of retouch on the people follow people.
Yeah.
Right. We mentioned before we started, we were talking a little bit, and I said we do like a lot of dentists, and that's kind of our target. And as I said, like, just trying to post like dental implants and you should floss and stuff like that. Nobody cares, right? And that's something I try to talk to them about. If they're interesting, right? It's not for everybody, right?
Right.
But if they're interesting and they want to kind of build up their personal brand, and there's a lot of like Hermosi and a lot of different people that really touch on that personal brand thing. And I think that's something that, as I mentioned to you, we do social media, but more as like consistency and to put content out there for them and stuff like that. We don't try to pitch it as like a big lead generator that we're going to make them an influencer or we're going to get them tens of thousands of followers. But that personal brand stuff is so important to anybody that does want to get out there. Because I think you're right. Like, people follow some companies, but like the ones that get, in my experience, the companies that have a lot of followers, paid for a lot of, not bought like fake followers, but did promotions, ran follower ads, paid media to get followers, and then they get the followers and they'll get interaction. But it wasn't because they really cared about the subject matter, right? Like they did contests and they did things to incentivize it. So
I think there's people that are listening it's just very important.
Yeah.
So realizing, the landscape of social media, that people do follow people. And when I started this 2 years ago, first almost 2 years, didn't charge any business, didn't make any money, shooting every day, posting 1 to 2 times a day, which is nearly a full-time job.
Dude, it's
more than 5 days a week.
It's work for sure.
People that haven't done it wouldn't realize it, but it really is. So 2 years ago when I started it and not monetizing it, and I knew that I needed to just keep kicking the monetization rock down the road until I find the right spot. I didn't want to take pennies and give up dollars in the end. But my main motivation was I don't want to take money and lose the trust. I don't want to take money where I'm not supposed to and where I shouldn't, where it's not the best way for me to take money and lose trust.
You don't want your content to be purchased.
Right.
Like you go to places and talk about food because it's good.
Exactly.
Right? Like if your audience, and it's an assumption, but now if your audience learns that people are paying you to come and talk about their food.
Exactly. I think my first food one was on the substation, and a buddy of mine went, and he's like, hey, let me take a shot of you taking a bite of the sandwich. I'm like, nah, I'm not putting myself in the videos. But I knew that was the right thing at the time. I knew it was, but I was like, I can I know it's better, but I'll be just as good without being in it. And so we did. And
that was a turning point.
That was a turning point. And as he was shooting it, I'm like, yeah, I know.
Those are just some quick highlights from the podcast, but I think the key there, and again, watch the podcast. Mark shares some great information. It's about an hour long, but it's good info. The key there, though, is to build trust, be authentic, be consistent. You'll notice the weekly videos and these shorts that I'm putting out. I've always got this in the background. I'm always in this space because I want people to see. It's covered in the video, but I want people to see that it's going to be the same thing. They know what to expect. So if they liked it, they're going to keep watching it. But again, be authentic, build trust. Don't sell out, I guess is kind of what it boils down to. But don't do it for the wrong reasons. If you want to grow your personal brand, share, be willing to be authentic. Don't be fake. Put yourself out there, share information, give value. Don't just put out a bunch of ads. I think something else we talked about in there is it doesn't have to be overproduced. Like this whole thing for my weekly videos isn't the same as what I might do for normal social posts. You don't need all this set and lights and everything like that. You can just do it on your phone. So get out there, be authentic, and you'll grow your following.